2-minute warning. It is 10 a.m. sharp. We are going to go ahead and get started. Please, as the presentation continues, feel free to get up, help yourself to seconds or thirds, fourths if you're drinking mimosas. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Christian Escamilla. I have the pleasure of leading some of our teams at Broadway Bank. I'm the head of our wealth management team. I'm the CEO of our investment advisory group. And I also lead the bank's marketing and communications department. So 3 hats, 1 paycheck. I'm your guy if you need somebody who can work hard. We're going to talk about elder financial abuse, fraud, and scams. There is going to be an emphasis this morning on the fraud and scams. Just recently, I rolled off the board of directors for the FBI Citizens Academy of San Antonio. That organization, they reach out to folks in the community, take you through a mini FBI training course, and you learn a whole lot about the patriots that protect our country. And that is in the form of the elderly who are abused and defrauded, also victims of child crime, trafficking. You see some very terrible things, atrocities that are committed upon the citizens of the United States. So I want to start this morning by talking about a specific emerging trend in the elderly community regarding scams. Has anybody ever heard of a scam called pig butchering? Okay, one or two people have. So this is oftentimes paired with a very well-known scam called romance scams or sweetheart scams. So I'm going to tell you what it is, and I'm going to give you an example of the story. You're going to hear several of these stories today from Garrett and Michelle and I. Pig butchering. It gets its name because when is the best time to slaughter a pig? When it's fat, right? So these scammers, and sometimes there's call centers. There's call centers all across the world where they employ people. Sometimes they enslave people against their will and tell them, you have to raise X amount of dollars and get them to, get those monies to us, and then we will release you to your friends or family. So how many of you have received a text message from an unknown number that says, hi, are you available today for coffee? You get a ton of those, right? I get at least 6 a day. When I receive those text messages, I slide, delete, and report as junk. You never respond to those because what happens? They're hoping someone is curious. They don't know whether you are a male or female, but they'll say, oh, you don't remember me, Christian? My name is Sarah. We met in California. And then you say, I never met you, Sarah. I don't travel to California often. And in comes a picture of a beautiful woman. Or if they determine you are female, in comes a photo of a very handsome young man. And they're hoping someone is lonely or bored enough to engage with them. You have a conversation with them, and at first it starts off friendly. Then what they do is they start sending you photos of themselves on a yacht, on a beach, in Vegas, wearing fancy clothes. And they're hoping you ask, my, how can you afford such a lavish lifestyle? And here's where the fattening of the pig comes in. Well, I trade cryptocurrency, or I trade in the stock market, and I do so well, I double my money every 60 days. Would you like me to share with you how I'm able to do this? And then they show you a statement, or a website, or an AI tool. And listen, I can't really let you into this investment scam, Christian, because, it's a very closed group of investors. It's a closed-end cryptocurrency, scheme that we're running. But I'll tell you what, you've become such a good friend, give me $1,000. And then you give them $1,000. It always starts small. You invest $1,000, and then what happens is something that's happened to a family member of mine. And then we'll talk about when the pig gets butchered. So about 5-6 years ago, a family member of mine from Fort Worth comes to San Antonio to visit me. He's not the most friendly guy, so I wasn't certain why he wanted to spend time with me. He comes in and he says, hey, I know you're a banker, and boy, do I have some great news for you. I'm part of a cryptocurrency investment group, and we've been doubling my money every 30 days. Right there, red flag, right? Too good to be true. And I tell this gentleman, sounds like a scam. No, numbers don't lie, is what he says to me. And I'll never forget that phrase. Well, explain what you mean. Well, I've got statements. I put $5,000 in, and within 32 days, it was worth $11,000. It's too good to be true. And they have a website, Christian. It's called Gladicoin, as in gladiator coin. And so I said, well, come on, let's head to my office. We walk into my home office. I pull up the website, and it looks like a legitimate website. He logs into his account, and there, of course, before him, he sees a market performance history. He started with 5, goes to 7, then 9, then 10, then an 11, some peaks and valleys to imply there's volatility. And I said, this doesn't make sense. This is too good to be true. And in order for this to happen, someone has to be buying your crypto at double the amount that you bought it for. And you can look at the cryptocurrency prices and see that that's not feasible. He left angry. I didn't talk to him for 3 years. At the family reunion 3 years later, I find out that he had lost over $400,000, cashed out his 401k, and did a home equity loan on his house. At a graduation party 4 months ago, I asked him, hey, how did the Gladicoin work out? And if you Google Gladicoin, you'll see it's called a crypto doubler scam. They're out of business. Everyone lost their money, including him. And he said, oh, you were right. That was a scam. But have you heard of this new coin? Okay. So this gentleman was enticed, not via text message, not via romance scam, but by a website. And so, when we talk about some of these scams with their, cute names like sweetheart scams, they're anything but sweet, and you must be cognizant of some of the warning signs. So what we're going to do today is we're going to share with you via some stories of clients, in some case our friends and family members. In one case, one of the owners of our bank that actually works for us gave us permission to share with you something that happened to he and his family, and they were able to avoid being scammed. So we're going to talk about ways you can educate yourself this morning. I shared with you a little bit about who I am and what I do. As a reminder, on the wealth management side at Broadway Bank, we're able to provide our clients with advice and guidance as it pertains to everything ranging from certainly investment management and retirement accounts, financial planning, but where we have our additional expertise is in real estate, oil and gas, trust administration, and partnering with our private banking team. One of our private bankers is here today. Her name is Michelle Beza. I'm going to ask Michelle to join us. She's had the privilege of working with several of you, and I'll have her introduce herself.
I'll find it. Good morning, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be with you this morning. As I look around the room, I see a lot of familiar faces, and I've had the pleasure of working with many of you. For those I have not yet to meet, I look forward to truly getting to know you. In fact, it's one of the things I love most about my job, getting to know my clients personally. How do you define success? What matters most to you? And then providing a personal experience of that kind of caliber. At Broadway Bank, we customize solutions tailored to your specific needs. We specialize in something called a bridge loan, which some of you have used. But today, we're here to talk about elder financial abuse, something that has affected far too many in our community and sometimes our family. Let's start with defining. What does that mean? It's defined as a financial crime committed against anyone 65 years of age and older. It is illegal. It is a first-degree felony, punishable by 10 years, and fines start at $10,000. Now let's dive right into the facts. 10% of our community every year is affected by elder abuse. That's a lot. That's 1 in every 10 individuals. That might be someone sitting at your table. That might have even been you. Let's talk about what that amounts to. It's reported $120,000 per case, totaling $36 billion. That's billion with a B. That's significant. As shocking as that number is, this is a highly underreported amount. I want to pause there and ask, why do you think it's underreported? Embarrassment. Absolutely. Embarrassment, fear of being judged for the loss, when in fact, this is not their fault. And more importantly, facts tell us family members often steal twice as much as strangers do. You don't want to report your family. This is a very heavy conversation to start our Friday morning, so let's get to the good news. The good news is we are here today to equip you with the awareness and tools to protect yourself and your loved ones. Before we move on, I invite you to ask any questions throughout the presentation. We are truly here to ensure that we answer all of your concerns. Any questions before we move on? No.
Yeah,
Yes.
How do you protect a relative that is total believer that it's a good deal?
So,
The question, I'm going to repeat. Go ahead. Repeat. The question was, how do you protect a loved one or relative that thinks something is a good deal? Go ahead.
well, it's very similar to me trying to convince my type 1 diabetic brother that he needs to stop drinking Dr. Pepper. It's very tough to do, right? Unfortunately, there are many cases where I can think of one in particular that was shared as a case study when we were discussing financial crimes, in particular to the elderly at the FBI field office. And a story was told about a 69-year-old woman whose husband passed away, and she was victim of a romance scam. Somebody was watching the obituaries, reached out to her, struck up a friendship, somehow got her phone number and email address. Her family stepped in and said, "Mom, we noticed on your bank account you wired out $10,000. Who did you send this to?" It climbed to over $160,000. And the FBI stepped in. They were able to provide some assistance. I'm not certain if they caught the gentleman, but shortly after, they did help recover, with the help of the financial institution, a portion of those funds. 7 months later, she opened another case. She was defrauded again. And so some people are just simply stubborn. So the best you can do is, if you suspect a loved one is being defrauded, number one, always speak to your financial institution. We have a vested interest in making sure our clients are protected. And I know Michelle and Garrett can tell you firsthand, we've had to step in and ask customers at the teller line, is there somebody waiting for you in the parking lot? Are you alone? And sometimes people tell us, yes, somebody is outside. Here's what they told me to do. Other times people say, I was told to come and grab cash and go buy gift cards and then give somebody these gift card redemption codes, right? And so inform your financial institution, encourage them to speak up. Education is the best preventative tool you can provide. You're all going to get a copy of this presentation. You can share with them. You can obviously contact local law enforcement, including the FBI, and there's a public number you can call. You get the switchboard, they'll route you to financial crimes. It's not an easy conversation. Next, I believe we're going to pivot to Garrett, who's going to introduce himself and talk a little bit about financial exploitation.
Good morning, everyone, and it's great to see so many familiar faces from our May Fiesta event. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room, and thank you for wearing red. Remembering everyone deployed, that's such an important thing. I'm not wearing red, but I do have my best friend's coin, challenge coin, always with me. He's an 06 Navy captain, Navy medical stationed out at Fort Sam. One of the things, and we've been seeing this a lot over my 25-year career, and these seem to be coming in waves, and we're seeing a wave again with this stuff happening. And right now, there's really two things for y'all to think about. There's two types of financial exploitations. The first one is just purely financial. It's transactional. The perpetrators that do this, what they're doing, they're non-relatives. It's kind of like what Christian was saying with the telephone. You'll get a text message. They're looking for the quick hit. How fast can I get the money and then go and disappear? Again, not a major financial loss, but still $500,000, $2,500. It adds up. And that $500 could be a lot to somebody or it could be a little. But the fact that that does happen. Now, the more lascivious one is the more of the hybrid type, one that it's closer to the person. That can be a relative. Sometimes they're oftenly financially dependent on their elderly victim. Typically, it can be a former employee if they owned a business. The longer that person is there, the worse that financial abuse is going to be. And it's not just monetary. It also affects them emotionally because it is a close person, it is a close relative. And it's almost worse in a way because it's ongoing. And those are just things to think about. And it's usually a much greater loss. We're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars until that person now has lost their home. They're trying to pay medical bills, so it does cause a lot of problems. And next, I'm going to refer back to Christian to cover what the undue influence and how does it happen.
Yeah, this seems very obvious, right? Elder financial abuse is a result of manipulation, opportunity, and exploitation. The people that these scammers are targeting is literally everybody in this room, all your loved ones, every one of us presenting, the staff that helped present the lovely meal today. It is by definition, it is very much a shotgun approach. It's a numbers game. I'm going to send out as many text messages, as many emails as possible, and just see who responds. Now, there are, as a result of technology these days and data aggregation services, some for genuine, real use, businesses can go out and buy lead lists, and we can say, hey, we want to. My undergrad was at University of Incarnate Word. I'm a UIW grad. I want to market to other alumni of UIW, or my master's was at this university, or I went to this high school and played football, and I want this kind of lead list. And we may do that for real business reasons. The same types of lead lists are available to scammers. And they can say, I want a lead list of everybody in San Antonio who has X amount of dollars of net worth or investable assets. And I specifically want a lead list that has phone numbers and email addresses. It's also available on the dark web. And people can access that for a small fee, typically paid in cryptocurrency, or it's something they can just download because it's available. So that's how it typically happens. They have your information, they reach out, and they're hoping someone is ill-informed or misinformed and simply responds. Yes, question.
Another question. Apparently, everybody knows one's worth, whether they've ever met him or not. Is this all coming out of tax information, or how do they do it?
So there's a number of ways data companies assess and ascribe a propensity score via a model or algorithm. Usually it's based on zip code. So based on this zip code, the value of the houses in this area are this, the tax rate is that, and we can draw a certain correlation. And so some of it is public, other parts of it are scientific in nature, and then some of it is your information is compromised online because you've used one password to get into everything you do online, and you've never changed it. Your information was compromised, and a fraudster got in and took a look. Okay. So regarding undue influence, some victims could have diminished mental capacity, right? Some people can be grief-stricken. Michelle's going to give an example of someone that she knows that was grief-stricken, that was taken advantage of. It could be someone you know, could be someone you don't know, right? But the pattern of manipulation is always the same. They are manipulating your free will by trying to find your pain point and pressing on it. If you are depressed and you've not talked to somebody about it, if you are lonely and you've isolated yourself, they're going to probe and ask questions and try to get to know you so they can understand how they can connect with you, and then they begin the brainwashing process. And today with AI, it is scary how easy it is to get something created. This morning, we were able to create the sign-in sheets by asking AI, create a sign-in sheet numbered 1 through 50 with this logo at the top, and in seconds, it generated it, we hit print, showed up here with sign-in sheets. There's lots of good uses for technology, but that can also be manipulated. Any questions before we move on to the next section? All right.
Who are the perpetrators? Who does this? And it can be anyone. It can be relatives, friends, complete strangers, people you even trusted as your power of attorney, even a financial advisor with a large firm or a small firm, that they're not providing you all the information, all your statements. How do you know what's going on? Another one that's even worse is if it's a guardian or a conservator for you. And that's how, when you choose someone who's going to be your power of attorney, make sure it's a trusted relative, children, someone that doesn't have a main financial interest in your life. Powers of attorney, that form, they can act as you, they can sign as you, they can take out credit for you on your behalf. Now, they're supposed to be a fiduciary acting in your client's or your person's best interest. Unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't happen. Same thing with a guardian. Again, I talked about former employees. That's another one. If someone owned a business, well, they couldn't possibly do anything to him. They've been an employee of his for 20 years. We've had our housekeeper for 15. We've had our lawn person for this long. And all of a sudden you start hearing from your parents or from your next door neighbor, yeah, I'm paying him in cash now and I'm giving him a tip. Well, why would you give him a $300 tip when he only have a 500 square foot piece of property that they're mowing? Well, they really needed it. Well, tell me how that happened. And they always have a story, and it's always they need money. And you have to be on the lookout for that, not just for yourself, but also for your neighbors too. And that's the one great thing about military communities. Everyone does watch out for each other. And that's true here. It's true on bases. Things to look at. From the warning signs, and I'm going to refer that back to Michelle.
All right, so let's discuss some of the warning signs. As a private banker, every morning I receive a report on activity that is unusual for my clients. That is the first thing that I open every single morning. And if I see a large withdrawal, if I see a large check trying to clear, or a wire that was sent out, I pick up the phone immediately, call my client, and inquire, is this valid? Do you want me to pay this or send this back? Several times they have told me no, I did not do that. I would encourage you to get your statements, log online if you have access online, Check your balance every day. What we're looking for are debits that you did not approve, checks that you did not write, large sums of money going out of your account that you did not authorize. Ask if someone comes to you, family member, friend, neighbor, can I have a loan? But please don't tell anyone. I'm really embarrassed about the situation I'm in, and I don't want anyone else to know. That is a huge red flag. If someone needs something, there should be no secrecy behind that. Wills, power of attorney. If someone is influencing you to change your will, manipulating you to change your will, that is another red flag. Unmet needs, unpaid bills. That sounds a little unusual, but I'm going to share a story that is very near and dear to my heart from a close friend and client. We're going to call her Margaret. Margaret is 78 years old, fiercely independent, proud, super sharp, lived in her home for over 48 years, lost her husband. A neighbor down the street started to befriend her, bringing her groceries, checking in on her, calling her, taking her to appointments. A few months in, he offers to pay her bills online. She agrees. It sounds sweet, it's considerate, it's thoughtful. In 3.5 months, he took $680,000 from her entire life savings. And she only knew because the lights in her house were turned off. She had to mortgage her home to catch up on her bills because she thought he was considerate, sweet, and kind. The next thing is financial professionals, private bankers. We talk about your finances. Ensure that your questions are being answered, that your concerns are being addressed. Financial professionals in wealth management, make sure that they're truly listening to you and doing what's in your best interest. A good question to ask is, are you a fiduciary? That means they have to do what's in your best interest, not their own. It could be, next one is offering to exchange property. I'll take care of your dogs, and you don't have to pay me now, but why don't you just let me sign into your bank account? Why don't you put me on your accounts? Or why don't you just sign your house over? I'll be on your deed. Those are all red flags, and as alarming as these things are, they happen every day. Christian, Garrett, do you want to add anything? Or are there any questions in the room? Do you have a question? Did you have a question? No.
So, story time again. In Fort Worth, we have a question back here. I'll tell this brief story and then we'll head back there. In Fort Worth, a story emerged about 3 years ago. An elderly gentleman who was single, never married, but had a couple of children. Never married. They were in a different part of the country. Aging, mentally sharp, physically declining. Did a great job saving, had a great pension. A neighbor, as Michelle stated, started taking care of him. While he was alive, he gifted this young lady 2 SUVs, a car, and a home. He passes away. He did have brothers. He did have nieces and nephews. They come looking for, hey, what happened to this big chunk of his money? Court systems were unable to do anything because he, of his free will, provided a gift while he was alive to this young lady. She got off scot-free with 3 vehicles and a home. The family split what was remaining. And so you need to be cautious to these people who appear to be kind. In short, don't trust anybody. If you feel like you have met someone that could be too good to be true, tell a loved one, tell your banker, tell the staff at the ARC, pick up the phone, call law enforcement. There's tons of resources available. Can you go to the question?
We have a question back here.
You mentioned that we should check if somebody's a fiduciary. How do you find the credentials that they actually are a fiduciary? Because anybody can say they are.
Yeah.
And we know the scammers are lying all the time.
Yeah.
So what is the proof when somebody says, I am a fiduciary, that they truly are?
So first, you need to make sure you're selecting an institution. So generally speaking, lawyers and in another form, doctors, they must do things that are in your best interest. From a financial perspective, there are different levels of due diligence that different providers must perform in order to make sure regulatorily and legally they're providing you guidance. Now, not all are in your best interests. It's called suitability at some firms. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and based on how you answer those questions, I can sell you a product, keyword sell, that is suitable for you. It may not be in your best interest. It may have a very expensive fee associated with it. It may be a tad too volatile, but because of the standards, it's suitable for you. A fiduciary must academically and scientifically prove to you, to ourselves, and to our regulators that what we are offering as a solution, not selling, is in your best interest. And so if you're in doubt, you can Google search what types of financial institutions or departments within financial institutions are a fiduciary. So Ernesto just walked in. Ernesto is one of our financial advisors with Broadway Wealth Solutions. That entity is referred to as a registered investment advisory firm, RIA. RIAs are fiduciaries. Garrett and I represent Broadway Bank Wealth Management, parent company to BWSI. We are also fiduciaries. Usually, and the overwhelming majority of the time, fiduciaries will put it in writing. So if you look at any of our marketing material in wealth management, at the very bottom or on the back, we always mention our fiduciary commitment. It's in writing. State regulators, federal regulators also can tell you. If you call the OCC, if you call the SEC, is this firm a fiduciary? It can get complicated because there are some firms that are hybrids. This arm of what they do is a fiduciary, but this arm is not. So Google search, believe what you read about a firm's reputation. It's one of the reasons why I chose to work at Broadway Bank, over 83 years of stellar reputation, and I joined a fiduciary department. I've been a part, and when I was a younger man, I'm 47 now, in my 20s when I started my career, I was with these firms that told me, hey, we bought these bonds, you need to go sell them to these people. That's not the right thing to do. I didn't stay very long. Any other questions? Okay, hand it off to Garrett.
Now, guys, we covered the basic warning signs that you could see yourself. But what are some of the other things that you might not see, or what's happening to some friends, your neighbors, family members? And it's not just one of these. It could be one, it could be multiple. And it's things to think about. And some of these are symptoms of, could be other causes. But when you start seeing a pattern, that's where it gets important. You know, changes in appearance. If you see the person next to you or a family member, they used to be always well groomed. They used to go to the salon. They would get their hair and nails done. They'd always look like they're dressing to the nines. And all of a sudden, they look completely different. Appeals designed to foster fear, greed. They're nervous about something. They want to hold on to things. All of a sudden, you notice that they're getting more telephone calls, text messages on their phone line, and they're not telling you why. They get more email solicitations. They're getting lots of junk mail. Normally, most people, probably people in this age group, y'all probably get lots of mail for charities, lots of mail and these are charities you've never even heard of. They will fill your mailbox full of paper for kindling. We're in Texas. It's warm all the time. We don't need any extra material for a fire, but definitely, if you do get that and you don't know who they are, just go ahead and put it in the shredder if you have it, or in the trash. You start noticing your best friend, she's not wearing her favorite watch, her brooch, her pearls that her mother gave her back in 1940. Things like that are missing. Ask where they are. They start isolating themselves from their family. They're not mad at the family. You notice they used to come from they used to see their grandchildren. Now they don't. Why is that? And they're afraid to speak in front of their caregiver. Why? Or you start seeing them buying things they don't typically buy. They have a brand new vehicle, they have brand new items, and then it's gone. So if you start seeing these things, if you see something, definitely say something. Because these are things that aren't always apparent of what's going on. But if you start seeing changes in people that you know, bring it up. Ask that question. It's so important. Next, I want to get to some examples that I've seen over my career on this next slide. I'm sure y'all have gotten these in the mail. These are just the examples. It's a handwritten letter from a friend. You might not have seen 10, 15 years high school, and it's always a long, drawn-out story about what's going on with them, and then always there's the financial piece for it. These are always a scam. And this is a scam that's been going on for at least 20 years. I've seen this in many different phases. It's been handwritten, it's email. I want to share kind of a personal story. My father's 82 years old. He does have advanced Alzheimer's. He's still loose, he still answers his phone. Luckily, he knew enough to call me right after it happened. He called and said, Garrett, I think there's something wrong with your son. I'm like, what do you mean? He's right here with me. No, I got a phone call from him, and he's in jail. Like, that's impossible. Well, tell me what's going on. Well, Dad told me, he called, and he said, Grandpa, it's me. I'm like, well, that should have been your first clue. When you say, Grandpa, it's me, what's the first thing that comes to mind? You're going to say the child's name, right? So now they know your grandson's name. Yes, Dad, it's me. Granddad, it's me, Travis. I'm in jail. I need some help. And they go, well, you sounded kind of strange on the phone. I'm like, well, I was in an accident. The airbag deployed, so my voice is kind of mangled. So he would kind of go along, and by the way, they're going to throw me in jail. I need bail for $10,000 right now. Fortunately, my father does not have access to any of his financial instruments. My sister and I do take care of that for him, so he could not do that. But he still called and let us know. Think of how many people that happens to, and they don't bring that up. And that money is gone. Another one that's I've seen several times through the years, if you go on to the next slide, they try to scare you with being a government agency. The IRS is a big one. You'll get a letter that looks like the IRS. I see a lot of heads nodding. Probably, how many have gotten something similar in the mail or have seen this before? Exactly. The IRS does not send out letters like this demanding money. It is a long, drawn-out process. And if someone does owe, they know they do. If they work with their tax professional, their banker, their financial advisor, we would know beforehand, and you would know if you were in trouble with the IRS. And they don't automatically send out demand letters like this. So if you do get anything like this, hold on to this document that we have for y'all. Think of this as your future instructions. If you get anything that looks strange or out of the ordinary, please refer back to this. At the very back of it does have our name and number to call. Even if you're not a client of the institution, we will still talk to you about what's going on and what it could be. And now I'm going to bring it back to Christian to talk about his favorite subject, AI, and how that's really changed the game.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's a lot of questions about artificial intelligence. I was listening to a podcast this morning of a company called Shield AI. What they've done is they've designed a fully autonomous hive mind aircraft. So it replaces our fighter pilots in the future. AI is going to do some incredible things. It's doing incredible things in business right now. But it is a very opaque topic if you're not using it every day. So, I'm going to give you an example of how you might use AI to detect if you could be scammed. An emerging trend that we've seen in the last 30 years, and it's cyclical. It comes and goes about every 5 or 6 years. We'll have a client that'll call Michelle or Garrett or I and say, guess what? I just bought $1 billion worth of Iraqi dinar for $25,000. And I've been on these investment calls which look legitimate with people in suits in Houston, and I'm part of this investors group, and the Iraqi dinar is going to be revalued, repegged to the dollar, and I'm going to be a billionaire. This has been going on since the first Desert Shield efforts, okay? And 7, 8 years ago, I walked into a client at the time's podiatry office here in San Antonio. And he cleared out one of his exam rooms and had a literal pallet full of Iraqi dinar, shrink wrapped. Michelle has something she'd like to add?
I have a question. Can you explain what AI is? What does it stand for?
Yeah, so AI stands for artificial intelligence, and it can be used in any number of forms. Right now, I'm looking at a way to create an agentic AI for my new employees that joined the bank. So imagine you join Broadway Bank. 84 years of history, very long relationships. Let's say Garrett is a 25-year trust customer, and it's my second week on the job. And Garrett calls and says, hey, I need a distribution so I can replace the roof on my house. I need to quickly gather all the documents that he has filed with us, trust documents, old distribution requests. It's difficult to do if he's had a relationship with us for 25 years. I could deploy agentic AI and ask it a question. Please pull all the distribution requests for the last 25 years, any government document, governing documents with modifications, alterations into the system, and up-pulls his documentation. That's a very benign use of AI. It's really efficient and makes doing business with us as easy for you as possible. There's generative AI, where you're able to type into the AI, I need you to generate something for me. Could be an image, could be a video, could be a voice. So no longer can you even believe what you hear or see, because it could be generated by AI. I have seen many videos that my mother has sent me in social media over the last several years, 5 years. Christian, can you believe this is happening? Mom, that's fake. No, it looks so real. Mom, it's fake. There was a celebrity that was eating a bowl of spaghetti. I believe it was Will Smith, just a year ago, and they were showing what AI was capable of, but you could tell it wasn't real because of the unnatural movement. Someone else released a video just a few months ago. It was perfect, indistinguishable from reality. So, scammers are using AI in order to defraud people. And let's talk about how. I received permission from one of our owners. You guys all know him, Chris Cheever. Chris was on vacation, and I don't know how. He's very secretive about where he goes for this reason. Typically, when he returns, he'll tell us, hey, I went on vacation here. Here's what I did. Had a great time. Chris is very into culture and the arts, and so it always has something to do with an opera or symphony or bike ride. He's an avid cyclist. When he was on his most recent trip, one of his family members received a phone call similar to what Garrett just described. And the phone call said, hey, I'm here. Let's say it was Prague. I'm in Prague. I've gotten in trouble on my way here. I've had this emergency. I need you to wire me $50,000. Now, here's the difference between what Garrett shared and what Chris shared. It was his voice. The scammer knew where he was and where he was going. Fortunately, the person the scammer called was aware of what goes on in the AI age. And she called, she's in her 90s. She called a loved one and said, hey, can you please see if you can get a hold of Chris and make sure he's okay? Here's what just happened, and it was his voice. And they knew his itinerary. Which brings up two very valid points. Number one, if you do not have a password with your family or friends, make one. This is a big, big deal. Because if my daughters or my son called me and said they needed something, as informed and educated as I am on this topic, I may not think twice depending on the situation. But my family has a password. It's not something that's easily guessed. It's completely random, and we know it. Okay? Develop a password for your loved ones so you know it's real. Number two, be careful with social media. I tell my family, when we go on vacation, my kids are older now, they're all in their 20s. When they go on vacation, I tell them, don't you dare post, oh, we're here in, wherever in Tulum in Mexico, because you just told the entire public you're not home. You're giving people, when you post things on social media, access to your likeness, what you look like, what you sound like, and now you're telling them where you are, where you're going. Now, Chris didn't do that. We don't know how they got a hold of his information. And so it's terrifying. There are very, very good uses for AI. There's disease that will be eradicated in our lifetime as a result of the use of AI. There are defense mechanisms that are being deployed across the United States and the world to help defend our interests, both physically and also in cyberspace, as a result of AI. But you must be aware of how people are using it. You can see on the slide here emails and texts. I talked about how people have a shotgun approach. Imagine how powerful their efforts are when it's powered by computational artificial intelligence. They're able to have much deeper reaches. But you can type into AI. And if you have it on your phone, if a staff member has it, if your banker has it, it's very easy to type into AI. I was contacted by a random third party who promised me this regarding the Iraqi dinar. Is this a scam? It's probably going to tell you, yes, beware. Then you can ask a follow-up question like, what should I do now that I know this is a scam? And it will provide you guidance as well. There's tons of good use cases for it, but you need to be weary because you no longer can believe what you see or hear. Question everything. Trust nobody. And if you're Michelle talked about dealing with your private banker, your financial advisor, people you can trust. If your gut tells you that something is off, trust it. They always have a boss. If somebody calls you and says, hey, we have a transaction trying to clear your checking account in this dollar amount, please confirm with me your username, your password, and your social security number. No bank is ever going to do that, ever. I receive those phone calls. Hey, your Bank of America credit card is compromised. Your Broadway Bank checking account is compromised. I say politely, thank you for the information, I'll call you back. And then I pull out my card and call the number on the back of my card because it is a known number to me, not some random person calling me. And 100% of the time I've done that, it would have been fraud. It happens to all of us, to everyone. Questions about AI? Yes.
Can you get some of this stuff by mail too?
Yes. So the question is, can you get some of this stuff by mail? Yes, especially in the senior citizen community. People still use snail mail as a way to defraud you, and Garrett showed a couple of examples, right? The tax investigation letters. Another popular one that I've seen here in San Antonio is political campaign contributions. People know how passionate most people are about their beliefs. It could be a religious belief where they're getting you to donate to some topic that is near and dear to your heart. It could be political in nature. Do your research before you write a check and give it to somebody. The political campaign is a new one, especially considering the political environment in the United States right now. We've seen people defrauded of tens of thousands of dollars, and then they keep getting more requests when they gave a donation to an organization. All of a sudden, 50 organizations are asking them for money. What else? Any other questions? Anything to add, Garrett or Michelle? Got another question over here.
How do you even get into AI?
The question was, how do you get into AI? So I have a couple of AI apps on my cell phone, right? In just a few minutes, we're going to do a drawing for the wine. And if you're watching this recorded, come in person next time so you can enter for a wine drawing and enjoy this great food. I'm using on my phone right now an AI app called Perplexity. I also have ChatGPT, and I choose the AI tool I use based on the need. I prefer Perplexity because it provides attribution. So if I tell it, for example, to give me the historical returns over the last 5 years of the S&P 500, it provides citations. I feel it's more academic. I can ask AI right now on my phone, let's do it. Using my voice to text, using a random number generator, please generate six individual numbers between 1 and 100. And it did it for me. I've got 6 numbers, randomly. Well, maybe one. We'll do it again in a few minutes. I'll reference these numbers because they're already generated. Microsoft Copilot is another trusted agent. Gemini, ChatGPT. There's tons out there. I told you guys I'm responsible for our marketing and communications team. I'm encouraging my team of very creative, very talented people to use AI to create imagery. It saves us hours, and by proxy, thousands of dollars of people hours by using AI. It can be a tool used for good, but unfortunately, if there's a tool that exists to reach out and touch a group of people, it will be used by scammers. Any other questions about AI? Yes.
Just a comment. I was looking at, I believe, one of the news services, and there was a message there they were sending about Coke and Sprite having to be withdrawn from the market. And this is being read by Geflutsky AI voice. Thank you very much. And it was 66 Ma was as the voice came over. It turns out that was Mama Alpha Alpha. If you looked at the number, it's not quite perfect yet. But you're right, it's getting there, and it's going to be with us forever.
Yeah, there's been lots of studies done on social media technology, influence of AI, and the engagement scores of humanity engaging with technology is higher if it alarms you or makes you angry. And so if you see news that you think, I don't know if this is factual, do some research because it looks really good. Other questions before we move on? Yes.
At the beginning of all this AI business, they were saying, don't answer the phone, yes, or, using anything that they could recognize your voice on other procedures. Is there a way to answer, or should you just not answer anything?
Great question. I answer the phone with, what do you want? No. You've got to be careful because, yes, if somebody can grab your voice, but think of the other ways people could grab your voice. I will tell you now, so really, hello. That's it. I used to answer the phone, this is Christian, because so many of my clients were calling me, or thanks for calling Broadway Bank, this is Christian Escamilla, how can I help you? I've stopped doing that. I just simply say hello. And I try not to give anything affirmative until I've established who they are. If I don't recognize the number on my phone that's calling me, I'm far more cautious, right? But let's talk real quick about how AI is helping. I see a couple more questions. I see one back there too. How AI is helping financial institutions prevent AI fraud. So my son, it was a Broadway banker. He served in the military. He was a paratrooper in the Army. Met a woman in Milan, came home after his service, and now they're going back to Italy, much to my dismay. And he worked for Broadway Bank, and we use a software called PinDrop. And I would hear from him every day, Dad, somebody called in impersonating one of our clients. They had their name, their account number, their social security number, their password, and their transaction history. Well, how do you think they got that? They called one of our clients and defrauded them of the information, right? Extracted that information. But our software at Broadway Bank caught that the call is not our client's voice and was being made from a call center. Well, how did it pick that up? We use AI to help protect our clients. Yeah, it can be a tool for good or bad. So we'll go here and then we'll go to a question in the back.
I bought a security firm called McAfee. Now, shouldn't they alert me to fraudulent emails? And
So there's no one catch-all. McAfee is a very reputable firm that started off with software protection for your computer, and they've expanded. In a few moments, and in the presentation, are ways that you can protect yourself. There are services you can sign up for, like LifeLock. They'll go in, they'll monitor your credit reports, they'll monitor your activity on the dark web. I get an email every other day. Christian, your information is on the dark web. Well, yeah, everybody's information is on the dark web. I tend to ignore that one, but I do have a lock on my credit bureaus, which we're going to show you how to do that in a few minutes. I don't click on any suspicious email. If I don't know to expect something from you, I hit delete. And remember, as human beings, we tend to respond to things that are negative in nature. I've started getting some pretty creative emails in my personal email account, which are very enticing to open. Christian, I have you on camera trying to break into my backyard. And I'm like, what? But I look at it and see who the sender is and just hit delete. Don't be overly curious. Question in the back.
Yes, the military, the Air Force created AI. It was created by the universities and called it artificial intelligence. And they all call it information science. The academic name of artificial intelligence is information science, the science of information. How do you tell the truth or false of information? So the best use of artificial intelligence is in air defense. And so the use of artificial intelligence can identify anything in the electromagnetic spectrum, the things that we cannot see. So there's good uses of artificial intelligence. But as a civilian, I will never use it. I don't trust it, and you never know who wrote the program.
This is a very valid point. Thank you for sharing. It is important to note that as a financial institution at Broadway, we can only use for business purposes a couple of AI clients, and that's because we've built a fence around it. So what we put into it will never leave our security system. But when you're using it publicly, anything you're asking it or telling it gets sent back to the company you're using so they can further develop their AI models. So we train our employees, and most financial institutions are doing this now, it's table stakes, to do not put any of your personal information or our clients' personal information into it. There's a couple of financial institutions where blankets of employees were terminated outside of Texas because they were feeding into it, they were being lazy. They were feeding into it their client information. Here's all the transaction history that this client did, or here's all their legal documents, tell me what I need to do, right? And so you've got to be very careful as a civilian. Make sure you're using a trusted client and don't put anything in there that's personally identifying, never your personal or other people's personal information. All right, we are wrapping up. Here's a case study. And I don't remember who was supposed to cover this one, so I'll cover it and then we'll kind of pivot. In this case, these are real cases. Fred convinced Mildred, his 85-year-old mother, to create a trust and name him as co-trustee. Fred used over $1.5 million from his mother's trust to pay his expenses, credit card bills, and to purchase insurance policies. None of these transactions were authorized by Mildred, and none of them benefited her. We see this often. Garrett talked about using a trusted family member. Well, how do you define a trusted family member? Probably somebody who doesn't have a spending or gambling habit. Probably somebody who doesn't have a drug habit, right? Probably somebody who has the mindset and the spirit and heart of a caretaker. That's how you select a trusted family member. But what if you don't have a trusted family member? What do? You contact a financial institution you trust to serve as your corporate trustee. Because in this case, Fred took advantage of his mother and had access to all of her funds. But when you deal with a corporate trustee, what we do is we have a committee of about 15, 20 people. Does that sound about right, Garrett? Every Tuesday morning for an hour and a half, we sit in a room and we say, Michelle made a request out of her trust. Here are the terms of the trust. Here's the dollar amount. Here's the purpose. Here are the receipts and the bids for what she wants to do. And then we as a committee make a decision that is in Mildred's best interest. That's the benefit of using a corporate trustee. The next case study, We talked about this one already. It's, Al calls Betty and says, hey, I've been arrested. I'm in Tennessee. Send me money. We've already talked about this situation, so we won't spend a lot of time here. But remember, the use of that password, very important. Establish one with your family members. Case example number 3, Michelle covered in a different way with her situation with the woman whose husband passed away and was taken advantage of by a neighbor. Be mindful. There are a lot of people in the elderly community, senior citizen community, whose loved ones have passed away, who have survived all of their friends and family members. They're looking. People are looking for them as a target, and so our guidance here is look out for one another. And if you feel someone, a neighbor of yours here, is being taken advantage of, go to the staff of the ARC. They'll help protect you. Worst case scenario, call law enforcement. There are entire programs developed by the city and state to protect our community. Elder fraud scams, Garrett's going to talk about that.
Thank you. Now, there's hundreds of scams that are going on constantly, but we have identified they all fall into one of 12 categories. And they're all different. We were ranging from Medicare to health insurance, ID theft, counterfeit prescriptions, funeral cemetery scams, anti-aging products, internet fraud, investment schemes. If y'all listen to WAR or talk radio, you're going to hear the homeowner reverse mortgage, title lock. That's another one that, again, these are real things that are happening. The grandparent scam, that's the one that happened to my dad. Again, we've had several clients. That one's been going on for years, but with social media, it's gotten even worse because what they can do, I don't know if many of y'all are on Facebook or share that stuff with your family, but there's family photos on there. They can go and take a copy of that photo with some AI, change the photo, zoom in, say, Grandpa, look, it's me, here's my photo. These things can happen. Political scams, Christian talked about, and then the romance scams. They do fall into typically one of those 12 categories, but again, with AI, which is really Prometheus Fire, if that's new, that could be another category as well. So you have to be vigilant. Please hold on to this document that we gave you and refer back to it 6 months, a year from now. If you get something, say something, give us a call, we can help. And to close,
we covered a lot of these organically through the presentation. One thing we did not cover is please make certain never to sign a blank form. I've seen this throughout my career with former coworkers who were terminated at other banks, not at Broadway, for handing a client a blank document and saying, hey, if you can sign this, I'll finish the paperwork when I get back to the office. Never, ever sign blank documents. Don't open the door to strangers. Don't respond to strangers via text messages or emails. If you get a letter, an email, or a phone call saying you want a prize, you shouldn't be asked to pay a fee. We're going to do a drawing for bottles of wine in a few minutes. We're not going to ask for a $5 service fee. Okay? Never give out your sensitive personal information, and never feel rushed in order to make a decision. If somebody's trying to rush you, they're trying to scam you. And then this last point is, don't be embarrassed to report suspected fraud. Even if you've gotten in a little too deep and you think you've got a girlfriend or a boyfriend that lives in Malaysia, and if you just send them 20 grand, they're going to hop on a plane over here and spend the rest of their life with you. Tell somebody, I think I might be scammed. Do plan, check references of anyone and everyone you hire, especially financial institutions. Make sure your financial documents are secured, you photographed valuables, you've documented serial numbers. Make sure your intellectual curiosity is satisfied before you purchase any product. Don't feel pressured. Michelle talked about reviewing your statements. Each of you in here are protected by our federal government via various regulations that we follow as banks. For example, Regulation E. I've been in the industry for 27 years, and I remember when online banking and bill pay was brand new, and people were terrified to use it. And so we spent a lot of time explaining if you're taking advantage of online, the bank has ways to make you whole. But you've got to review your statements. You can't go to your institutions 8 months later saying, oh man, I just noticed $6,000 a month has been coming out of my account. We might be able to help you with one of those months, but the rest was on you because you've not looked at your statements. Having a private banker is useful, and if you're a resident of the ARC, you have the net worth to qualify for most banks, private banks. Grab Michelle's business card on the way out, get Garrett's business card, their contact information is in the presentation. They can provide you with a different level of service that can help also protect you. And we already talked about political and charitable donation requests. Be careful and do your research. Okay, so this is an important slide. It's in your deck. If you don't have one in front of you and you want another copy, please let us know. You can proactively contact the credit agencies and ask them to freeze your credit report. Each of the numbers are there you need to call. There's a do not call registry where you can put your name and phone number on a list to not get telemarketing phone calls, which ensures if you get a phone call from someone trying to market something to you, and you've frozen your credit reports and you're on the do not call registry, there's almost a 100% chance it is fraud. So this is the slide that I would put a big star on. Take the time, call those numbers, get put on the registry for do not calls, and most importantly, freeze your credit reports. This is how scammers really can make a dent in your net worth if they don't have access to your bank account. They get loans, car loans in your names and credit card in your name, and then they will charge it up. Any final questions before we wrap up? Yes, two. First, right here.
The danger of Facebook, how much does that impact this kind of thing? People pulling information out of casual things between people.
Yeah, so Facebook can be good and bad. You know, be mindful of what you share online, but be cognizant. When you post a picture of you and your friends, people have access to your image, right? It is a useful tool for connecting and for developing community, but it can be dangerous if you see, especially, swaying you to believe something is true that may be untrue. You're marketed to in any social media app. There's no such thing as a free lunch. We've heard that before, right? All these apps are free, but there's a price you pay for everything. So just be mindful of what you post.
Oh, we have one question right here.
I'm right here.
Oh, thank you.
I would tell my fellow ARC residents, I'm not a marketing plant for Broadway, but we've used Broadway for 24 years. Business, account, personal, and they're the definition of a community bank, and they're very responsive. So I want to thank you all for coming today. But back to Jack Kenton's question earlier about how do you convince a family member not to be defrauded? I would just say, and I know you all do this, but we have a financial advisor that will give advice to family members free. I mean, really good financial advisors do that. They allow you to pass it on. And so then you're out of the way and you say, please call, Teresa, and she'll talk to you about it. So thanks very much for this morning.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the kind words about Broadway. We're happy that we could have made you satisfied over the years. Very welcome. We are more than willing to have the same conversation with family members. We're happy to. If they start screaming and hollering at us, we may get off the phone quickly, but.
Okay, thank you. We take so many pictures with our iPhones these days. I've got probably 10,000 on my phone, something like that. And some of them are of valuable stuff we have in our home so that we can get an album and keep them all together and that sort of thing. Have we just made ourselves a miserable time doing that?
So be mindful of a couple of things. I have this conversation with almost all my employees who will listen to me on this topic, and certainly my friends and family. Whether you have regardless of your device, you need to be very mindful of the complexity of your password. You want to make it not complex enough where you can't type it in or you'll forget it, but you certainly want to make it complex enough where it cannot be guessed. Because with AI now, people can say, by looking at Garrett's social media, aggregate all the information about him, get his kids' names, where they're going to college, where he's about to go to college, his high school nickname, family names, pet names, and run that through a tool to try and guess his password. And on a long enough timeline, there's 100% certainty your password is guessed if you're using publicly available information. So what you have to do is use a strange password that's a random series of numbers, letters, symbols, or a phrase, and make sure that your Apple ID, in this case, is a different password than your email address password. And you've got to make sure that your email address password is a different password than your bank account passwords. And there are applications that you can use, are called password managers, to help you keep track of these things. Don't write it on a Post-it note so a cleaning lady or handyman can grab the password. But if you keep those passwords separate and complex, unless someone has it, they're not going to be able to get into your iCloud to look at your photos. And even if they did get a picture of a really nice watch, what are they going to do with it? I mean, they can make you a target, certainly. You just got to be very mindful of your password complexity, length, and that they are unique. And I know it's a pain. I've got about 90 individual passwords in my password manager app, but I've never been compromised. Next question.
Back to Facebook. If I put something on Facebook and limit the access to my friends, does that keep other people from taking the pictures?
So yes, it does minimize your risk in general to have your social media profiles listed as private. But remember, anyone can take a screenshot of anything you have posted. So even if you intended to keep it private, I could, if I'm in your circle of friends, I could take a screenshot of it and repost it. And boy, do I get it on to my mom for doing that with my family and I.
Or Christian in the back, Christian.
Yes.
Can you get some of this crap coming over the mail to you?
You can. It's very. It is not uncommon.
Highly prevalent now.
Correct. It is still heavily prevalent. It is not all digital. It almost is all going to digital. But I don't believe there will ever be a time where you don't get a knock on your door or something in your mail to try and defraud you. Any attack vector that's open, a scammer will take. Any other questions? Oh, right here.
It's not really a problem, but information. When we get these text messages that say we owe $5.95 for using the Maryland, what are they really after? They are not after just $5.95.
So they are number one, is this a good phone number? Because they don't know, right? Not really. Number two, if I can get $6 off of a few thousand people, that's meaningful. But number three, give me your card information. Pay that small little $5, $6 fee so I now have access to your entire checking account, credit card. Don't trust anyone. What else? Other questions? Okay, so in your presentation materials, you have both Michelle and Garrett's contact information. Our teams at Broadway Bank work collaboratively. You call either one of them, they'll sit with you, they'll talk to you, and if you're a better fit for Ernesto's team with Broadway Wealth Solutions, or you call Garrett and you're a better fit for private banking, any one of them can quarterback your relationship to get you to the right place. Thank you so much for joining us. Please help yourself to seconds or thirds. We have plenty of food left, and we'll see. Oh, we got to do the drawings. So we've done the random number generators, and Ernesto's going to call out your name, and if you'll raise your hand, we'll run the bottle of wine to you.
All right, so I should be your favorite person today. We're just going to go through. We already ran the random numbers, and so our first bottle is going to go to Erica Robeson. Did I pronounce that correctly? Thank you.
So since you're first, you can pick whatever you want.
Our second winner today is going to be Fred Bengasser. Congratulations, Fred. You're a popular guy, it seems. All right, next one up is going to be Ron Rixmeyer. Come on up, Ron. You get to, oh, here we go. Bringing it right to you. Our next winner is going to be Connie Owens. Oh, that's a lucky table over here. Our next winner, Nick Barone. Mr. Barone, there you go. And our last bottle is going to go to Jose Ikogi. I know I'm pronouncing that one wrong. Jose and Janet. Ikapi. Jose and Janet Ikapi. Oh, right over there. Thank you all for your time today.
Yeah, we are recording this session for other ARC residents who aren't able to join us today. Thanks again for joining us. Obviously, take the materials with you. Keep the pens. Yes, we have emailed a copy of the slides to Deja and somebody else. I can't remember who. Felicia. Felicia has a copy of them. We'll get those distributed to you as well. You can always get a hold of Michelle or Garrett. Thanks for your time, and please grab some food to go. Thank you very much.